This is the smallest, thinnest Super 8 camera ever made in the whole world. Let me just get this UMIG out of the way. There it is. The Agfa Microflex 200, made in about 1971 to 73, and it is absolutely tiny. It's very thin. Let me just put it here next to this AA battery. I've been mentioning this thing in a couple of other films, but I promised to do a film all about it, and this is that film. It came into my possession in a box of cameras that I got on an auction. I wasn't after this in particular. I didn't even know I'd bought it until I opened this little bag and found it inside there. And I'm rather impressed by it. The Agfa Microflex 200 was in fact the smallest Super 8 camera in the world when it came out, and I believe it might still be. And it's so small you can basically fit it in the palm of your hand. So let's look a bit close up and see some details on it. Well, on first glance, the Microflex seems to be a bit devoid of features, but it really isn't. It does quite a few things. Firstly, the lens has a zoom and a focus. So the zoom goes from 30 all the way to 9mm. At the front here you have these two circles here. Now, what are they? The top one is in fact a compartment for the light meter battery. Whoop, there it goes. It even says here 625, meaning that's the type of battery that it needs, the PX625. So that goes in there. This was the battery that was in it. I don't think it's the right battery for a start, but that goes in there. And this knob here below the lens is our on-off switch. Now at 0, that means it's off. If I turn it to A, that I think is on with automatic metering. If you turn it the other way, you get a plus sign, which opens the iris about one stop if you want a bit of extra light. So it does have a limited amount of exposure control. Moving up to this thing here, they've decided to put in a cable release here, which of course is a micro jack. I plug that in there. You can actually film with a remote cable. Otherwise, normally you start filming using this big red button on the top. Okay. And if we turn it around, this button here is to open the film compartment. Just push that and it should pop open. Whoa! I love the way it does that. Just whips open, I think it's spring loaded. And in here, obviously, it's where you put your film. Goes in there in the normal way. And shut it. And off we go. Start filming. Open it up when it's finished. Boom! And other than a little eyepiece focusing knob here, that's almost all that this camera has, except one thing on the bottom here. What's that? That looks a bit like a tripod mount on the bottom there. And it is a tripod mount. However, it also cancels the sunlight filter. Now the sun filter is always on this thing, unless you screw something into the bottom here. Now I happen to have this, which came with an old UMIG standard 8 camera, but it fits into here. And when I screw that into there, the sun filter is disengaged. And that's the only way you can shoot without the sun filter, is to screw something in the bottom here. Yet another shitty system, along with those stupid blanks that they had to put on the top sometimes on these things. Why can't they just have a switch to put the filter in and out? I do not know. I'll show you what happens if I put this in. There's a view down the gate without that thing screwed into the bottom. See, it's all a bit orangey looking in there. And then if I screw this in and start filming again, you'll see the difference. There you go, less orangey. So all in all, I'd say it's a fun little camera. Not only is it a fun little camera, it's actually been used in feature films. There's a film called In the White City, and there's a scene where Bruno Ganz walks around Lisbon holding one of these and filming himself and views around Lisbon. There's even a very nice carrying case that this thing comes in. I don't have one. This photo was taken by Stig Longberg. Thank you, Stig. But what I do have is this airline toiletry bag, which actually the camera fits into very nicely. Tiny little camera, lots of fun. So let's have a look at some footage that I've shot with it. So I went out with some black and white film and I tested it, and it works. It works, but I've got to say, the focusing was a little difficult. There were some shots which would have been very nice, but I screwed the focus slightly. Some shots which I'm sure I got in focus, and it still wasn't in focus. So I don't know if there's something up with this camera or not. The small lens does seem to reduce the quality of the image slightly. You can see what I mean when I show you a shot of my back garden shot with this Microflex, and then I'll show you a shot which was shot with Bollier 4008, and the difference is like night and day. You can tell that the Bollier is a much better lens, a better camera generally, but it's not as tiny and thin as this one, and this is which is really what this Agfa is all about. So all I can say is that if you have limited space, if you don't want to take all the stuff with you, if you want to pack a Super 8 camera, not even knowing if you're going to use it or not, but not wanting to lug it around the place, then this Agfa's a lot of fun. With colour film, a similar kind of result, except in colour. And of course, being this small, you can actually use it in situations like riding a bike, though of course, be safe. You can, if you happen to see something interesting, like a air ambulance helicopter landing on Regent's Park, you just happen to have the camera, yay, get out and film. And finally, you can replicate that scene in the White City with Bruno Ganz. So that's about it. That's the Agfa Microflex. They make a few different ones in the Microflex range. Tiny cameras, but lots of fun. See you next time. Bye.